there's little things about that sport that a lot of people rag on it for being like a boring sport or being an unathletic sport or whatever it could be. And I've always said it is a very, it's not a sport you want to watch and just watch. You kind of have to like watch it as a social thing, because there's like little flashes of like ultimate athleticism and then like boringness in between.
Yeah. Yeah. What is your dude, this is kind of frustrating both in I guess the work I do, but also just when people are just explaining, yo, that guy's athletic. Holy shit, that was an athletic feat. What is your definition of athleticism?
Well, I don't know. I'd say, I remember I was joking about being bad with terms.
Yeah.
But like I'm good with concepts. But I think it's called, is it proprioceptive awareness?
Yeah,
Like
sure.
knowing where your body is,
Yep.
like where you're strong and where you're weak and where you're compromised.
Yep.
Knowing like that, I think is like in combination with reaction time. Obviously, I'd say those two things.
Okay. So in your definition of athleticism, being big, strong, and powerful is not necessarily in the equation.
It's like supplemental. It doesn't hurt, but it's you can be big and strong and fast if you don't have proprioceptive awareness, and does because that kind of is the same thing as balance, even, right? Just knowing where you're at, knowing kind of your center of gravity, your
You could say that.
yeah. If you understand like like the nerds of jujitsu will be like the fulcrum points and the wedges and the leverage at the end of the dude. If you understand all of that, you have like a good analysis. You can you can. It doesn't matter. Strength will help you for sure, but you can dominate someone stronger than you
No, dude, that I
in every
appreciate that.
sport. In every sport.
Yep, I fully agree. I am fully in agreement with your take on athleticism, which is you're essentially saying that it's a neurological thing versus like a structural thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, proprioceptive awareness, like the awareness of it, and then reaction time to what's happening in front of you.
So
Those two
yeah,
things.
all brain things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a different kind of being smart, essentially.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, because there's
Cool.
100%. There's guys I could beat in a race that like if you put them in a sport, like if you put them in a soccer environment, a rugby environment, or like a hockey environment, if you it doesn't even need to be explained. There's like if you understand the body, you know where to be at what time, and you know how to get lower, how to use your strength, or how to, and you can react to the things in front of you. You're gonna beat someone that's stronger, faster, bigger every single time.
Yeah, that's fair, dude. I and the only reason I ask is because so many people think that it's like if you look fit, you're athletic, which is so far from the truth. I guess this is top of mind for me because like I saw like an aunt of mine the other day and she's like, "Oh, you're like so athletic. Like look how big you are." First of all, I'm not big, but also like but also yeah, just because you look fit definitely does not mean you're athletic.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And just reaction time. Like I think that like in terms of like elderly people, um I know that I think it was someone, maybe it was Huberman, maybe it was someone else. I think it was the other longevity guy. Who's the other guy? I think he wrote a book.
Peter Attia?
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
nice.
I love that you can tell that just off of longevity and wrote a book.
I
But
know this, but I also know the stuff that you're
longevity.
into.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the longevity thing I think is in the title of his book. But um I think it was him that said like with older people it's like 70% of mortalities of like people over the age of like 70 or whatever it is due to like lack of grip strength or I
It's a
think
correlation. It's like the worse your grip strength is, the less or the shorter you're gonna live.
yeah.
There's a couple correlational things which are really
Here,
interesting.
wait, put this right into your yeah.
Okay.
Just tilt it up a bit. Tilt it up. You
Okay,
don't have to.
okay.
Yeah, there
you
you
go.
go.
So there's a couple correlational things that are related to aging poorly. And so grip strength is one of them. Leg strength is actually interestingly one of them. And they test it just by throwing someone on a leg press. So I feel like it's a decent measure of someone's just absolute leg strength, and the ability to get up and down off the ground. So it's like those are like
Yeah.
the big. Oh, actually no, sorry. And the fourth one is VO2 max. So just like generally how good your cardio is. So it's pretty interesting to but then people will take this information, that grip strength, leg strength, ability to get up and down off the floor, and VO2 max are correlated to poor outcomes in old age, and then they'll take it super literally
And just train grip?
and just train
No
grip
way.
and just do leg strength and just do long, slow distance
Right,
cardio,
right, right, right. I
and just
see how you
practice
could nerd
Turkish
that
get-ups.
out, and yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
ridiculous. Because even when I think to train my grip strength, like I never fucking sit there with like a grip trainer and fucking squeeze anything. When I think, oh, I'm gonna train my grip strength, I think farmers walks. I do it like through the house here with the dumbbells,
yeah.
and just like yeah, dumbbell deadlifts, dumbbell lunges. Like I'm thinking about doing other exercises, but I do have the advantage of like I work in construction, so
I was
my
about
grip
to say.
strength is kind of trained all day.
I was about to say because yeah, like a lot of people that are, I guess, the super domesticated of the strong people, like the people that just work out in the gym and just use dumbbells and kettlebells and barbells and stuff. Dude, you're just holding on to this like maybe like 1.5 inch diameter thing.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
happens if you hold something wide? Like I'm sure you have to just
Lift a beam.
yeah, just have to lift beams all the time with the strength of your fingers. Like all that stuff is like
Yeah,
equally.
there's a lot of fancy tools nowadays that help a lot of people out. You
Yeah,
get beam jacks, you just crank it up.
yeah,
There's a lot of tools, but that being said, there is a lot of like things where, especially in renovations, where you don't get to use all those fancy tools because there's just not enough space, or you can't use it in a finished house or whatever it could be. Like you carry deck boards up a house sometimes, up the side of a building. You do sketchy shit. So it's definitely an advantage in terms of that for sure.
dude, this is what I was thinking of earlier, which is that I really appreciate that you are in a very future-proof career. We're
Sort
talking,
of.
right? Because we're talking about you live in physical reality and you do very human-specific things,
Yeah.
right?
Sort of. Yeah. I there's always uh there's always like the idea or fear of like they could just 3D print homes.
Yeah, but how far away is that?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. And everything seems like super unclear. I mean, we have like AI growing at the rate that it does, but we also don't have flying cars yet.
Yeah,
So there's like it's completely questionable. Or maybe we do have it, we just don't have them, but I don't know. I don't know when we would get access to 3D printing homes. I'm pretty sure they can already do it. So it's just whenever it comes to consumer. But I guess the real question is because I know that as less people get into trades, it becomes more expensive to hire tradesmen. So there's always going to be that dance eventually between like paying the skilled guy, or get AI to print
wait,
it.
sorry, you're saying less people are getting into trades now?
I think
Or is
so.
it? Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking that it might be climbing up now.
So I'm just saying that as less people get into it, say in 20 years, nobody's become a plumber, nobody's become an electrician. How many people do you know that actually work in the trades? I have a different view because obviously I know people that work in the trades because I do, but I also worked in other areas and went to school, and it's like I know a lot of people in this generation that are like, "Oh, I worked one summer of construction and I realized fuck that, I don't want to work hard ever again." And then that's most people.
Yeah, that's true.
So
It's
as that happens in 20 years, there's going to be less people working in the trades.
sure,
So then it becomes more expensive to hire somebody that works in the trades.
absolutely.
So then there's going to be a point where there's the you know, will you pay someone $400 an hour to paint your ceiling, or would you just fucking get the sprayer from fucking Home Depot? You rent the sprayer and it just rolls through your fucking house like a Roomba and just fucking yeah. There's little fucking things that whatever, but you pay $15 and Roomba fucking paints your. You know what I mean? There's going to be a point where it just I don't know. It seems sort of future proof, but then in other ways it doesn't.
Yeah, and I think about this stuff all the time. Like, is my career future proof? Is your career future proof? Like, I don't know, man.
I'm putting my chips in. It is obviously, but
Yeah,
I do think of these things often.
for sure.
Like,
What makes it? You know, what makes any job more future proof? Being sociable.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. and I think just having a skill. I think personally, I think having a skill. That's what I think that you capitalize on. I think that I capitalize on is just having a skill, understanding. For me personally, how homes are put together, how you can compromise between what you want and what you have, how to make it happen. Like that's a skill. Like yeah, someone can frame walls, but we're not talking about the same thing. Like you develop a skill. You personally like know how to make a functioning body. Oh, there's this problem. Not just like, oh, how to make your knee feel better, but it's like, why do you have the problem with your knee in the first place?
Yep.
You know, like understanding that is a skill. And so I think that that's what makes it future proof because like if I, for some reason can't pay my bills because we're not getting enough renovations, I can go to another company and at the end of like worst case scenario, I've even joked about this with my buddies. Worst case scenario in my life, other than if I get sent to the gulags if this country goes way worse, then worst case scenario, I economically become a biblical slave. Like it's just like I have the opportunity that I could just find someone random like that has a big enough property or house or be like, yo, I'll fix your house if you just feed me. Like I'm just saying worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Like full on worst case scenario.
No, you're absolutely
That's the
right.
part that gives me comfort thinking like at least I have a skill that like if I needed to legitimately just trade my labor for food, I could.
No, you're absolutely
So
right.
that's what makes it future
Being
proof.
like a caretaker for like some rich guy's home.
I'm just saying worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Nuclear bombs go off, all the power goes off, everything goes wrong. There's someone out there that has a house that has shit wrong with it that I'm like, look, like the world doesn't work the same way they used to, but I can make this waterproof. Like it like
Sure,
you know what I
sure,
mean?
sure.
Like that's the part that makes me feel like it's like future proof. It's like
Dude, that's what I was saying. That's what I respect about you, which is that you live in and understand more than most people physical reality. Because I feel like a lot of us are just living in this mental bubble of thinking that like the grocery store will always be there.
mhm,
The telephone pole will always be there.
mhm.
Electricity will always be around. But what happens when you have to get your own food?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, yeah.
What happens when your roof literally caves in and you don't know how to fix shit?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Even just little weird things. Like, dude, a lot of my buddies and like including my girlfriend joke about like it's like almost on the spectrum level of like how I think about the world cuz like as you know, I do ice baths in my bathtub, right? So I always have blocks of ice in my fucking freezer, chest
Yeah.
freezer. And in this neighborhood, there was a weird power outage like a week and a half ago where the power was out for like 20 something hours. And so everyone, all the neighbors, everyone was like kind of like walking their dogs or going for walks or whatever, right? And everyone's just kind of out and everyone's chatting. Oh, this in my fridge. We had to grill it on the barbecue because it was going to go bad. I'm like, yo, I had 4 ice blocks ready to go. I just stuck them in my fridge. It was just a giant cooler.
Mm.
Like all of my shit stayed fine. Like little things like that. Like I just like always, I don't know why. I'm well, we kind of do know why. It's like on the spectrum level of like thinking about these things. I don't know why. I'm specifically like that, but it's
No, I think a lot of my when you say stuff like that, what comes to my mind is a lot of my other buddies that are really into like auto mechanics or renovating their own homes. Again, living in physical reality. And as far as I can see, most of these types of people think about, well, what happens if there's a power outage? Well, what happens if this fucking beam like gets moldy and like breaks off? Like what happens if this? What happens if that? And they
yeah.
always have like a good backup plan because they're not living in, again, they're not living in this like la la land of always being on their computer, or maybe like you're a writer or something, or something, and you're always in your head, you know what I mean? Like you're actually always in physical reality, so you
Yeah.
actually understand how the shit works and what could go down.
You do need dreamers though, man. You do need dreamers because there's a lot of things that there's I'll say this. I personally get frustrated a lot with designers, like interior designers. I do a lot of kitchens and bathroom renovations, and there's a lot of times, like you're saying, like people, I use that phrase far too often, where it's like these people do not live in reality. Like I joke about it. I'm like, these people are in La La Land. Like they don't live in the real world. They do fucking like they have like a fucking THC tea, like edible tea. They fucking have a like a I joke around about them being like the type of people that have like rich husbands and they just have too much time on their hands and they played a lot of Sims growing up and they're like, I can be an interior designer. I make that joke all the time, dude. Like I'm like, these people are not even in the real world. They're in La La Land. They're like, oh, this would look good. This would look good. And there's a lot of times where I get frustrated because things like that come to fruition where like you're like, okay, this thing that you drew, like it's not entirely possible because there's an entire floor above that, and like structurally, this doesn't make sense. Like we're gonna need a beam, so it has to go somewhere. Either we build the ceilings lower, or we have like a big bulkhead, or you have an exposed beam. But like structurally, we need to improve this. Like there's always little things like that. But then there's other times where like I finish a bathroom and I'm like, I kind of said that this was impossible, but we made it work and it looks fucking mint. Like there's like a lot of times where I'm like, I eat my own words because it's like I said this wasn't gonna work, and I would never have attempted this, but like I was stuck in a rock and a hard place, and this person compromised, and this person and it ended up working, and it was beautiful. And I am one of those people that like I'm a good executor. I'm not a great like imaginer. I don't have that in me. Like I'm not
Kind of like
artistic
you
that
have to
way.
take things one step at a time.
Uh, yes, for sure. I'm just saying like I feel like there's two types of people. There's people that can devise a plan, and there's people that can execute a plan, and they're rarely the same people. You get what I'm saying?
That's fair. Yeah.
Because how many people do you know that can think of a great idea, and they're always the people that are like, "Yo, I got a good idea." How many people do you know like that have great ideas for businesses every fucking week, but yet they don't run a business that's successful? Because they can think things, they can do these. Oh, I thought this fucking thing, and it's a great concept. And you're like, what happened? Oh, I just never did the thing. I never did that thing. They just don't execute on it. Like I am personally an executor. I'm not a great creator. I'm not a good thinker. That's why I like for business, every idea I can think of that I've ever said in terms of business or like self development or anything like that is something I heard from somebody else. Because I'm not good at thinking of
Mm,
concepts. I'm good at executing on them. I'm good at hearing something and then doing the thing.
nice.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's personally who I am. I'm not very creative. I'm not imaginative. I just like,
Don't you draw?
no.
I thought you
I
draw.
read.
Okay.
I read. I read comics. That's like my version. I'd rather look at drawings than draw.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Me too.
I
Like
write, but
there
I
you
don't
go.
draw. I'm
Like creative writing, because journaling doesn't really count. I don't know
not
if journaling
anymore.
counts as writing.
Not anymore. I used to as a kid. I'd write short stories and shit, but not anymore.
Nice.
But
Nice.
yeah, I'm not like imaginative that way.
Mm.
I am like yeah, I'm like again, it's almost like to a weird for example, like when it comes to like music, like take like hip hop or rap music for example, I've always been the type to like sit there and dissect lyrics and like think about, oh, what does he mean by this and what is this? Wow, that's crazy that he said this and this amount of words. Like that's like I've always been like nerding out about those things. So I follow people for lyrics. And then there's other people where I'm like, it's undeniable that this sounds good. It just doesn't do much for me. Like,
Oh, dude, that's interesting. I one of my favorite books of all time that really gives you an insight into yourself is called "This Is What It Sounds Like: What the music you listen to says about you," and it's a book with like I think like 12 chapters, and each chapter breaks down a different component of music. And it'll break down the entire spectrum of what that component of music can look like. So, for example, like um, um, lyrics. There's a whole chapter on lyrics, and it could be like lyrics can be extremely metaphorical, or lyrics can be like extremely literal. And what it means about you when just like you said, you really like the metaphorical lyrics,
yeah, yeah,
almost like poetry,
yeah,
right? And then there's like another chapter called like rhythm, and it's like, do you like syncopated beats where they're kind of like a little bit sometimes off rhythm? Like I think like dubstep is kind of like syncopated, or do you like where it's like constant, and what that says about your personality, um, and
Or
then
like the tempo,
or the
or
tempo or the I think I forgot what the actual technical term is, but like whether you like stuff that's really mainstream or really weird and experimental. Anyways, dude, highly recommend that book if you've.
what's it called?
This is what it sounds like.
Do you remember any of like the correlations or anything like that? Like, cause so for example, like I've never really been like a super big fan of like very experimental stuff. Like there's like like Tyler the Creator. It took a while for him to grow on me,
Mm.
but then the things I do like about him, I really really like about him. But like there's certain I feel like artists or
See, because so that would be like I think what that book would say about you is that it means that at least music wise, it might not extrapolate to other areas of your life, but music wise, you like uh, the things that like scientifically, the melodies and the tempos and the rhythms and the bass lines and the lyrics or the kind of storytelling that would appeal like scientifically to most people.
mm.
Um, whereas like in other areas of your life, I would see that you definitely don't do the shit that appeals to
Yeah, yeah,
most
yeah.
people. You know what I mean?
No, but that does make sense because I'd say like all like my favorite artists would be like I don't know if they're the same as like what most people our age listen to, but they are very popular. Like it's not like you'd be like, oh, like Pearl Jam. Like
Yeah, yeah,
it's like
yeah,
it's pretty common that people like Pearl Jam.
yeah.
Maybe not everyone our age listens to like grunge or 90s stuff like that, but like it's not like it's like obscure. It's not like it's like
Definitely not.
unheard of. It's still mainstream and there's a massive following. It's just not our demographic specifically.
Right. Another thing is like, would you say you're a big rhythm guy? Because one of the really cool, well, probably my favorite chapter of the book is when it goes through rhythm and like how basically like, and it's kind of obvious when you say it out loud, but like people that care more about the rhythm of the song, the beat, more than the melody or more than the lyrics,
Hmm.
are very kinetic people. Like they like to move their bodies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, they like to dance or they like to do something. It depends on what I'm doing. If I am working, I usually am listening to podcasts or things that I like the lyrics to. Like I'll listen to like last week I was listening to Bob Marley at work with my buddy, and I'm like explaining to my buddy the metaphors, like because I'm a nerd that way. I
Yeah.
like look these things up. I like so I'm like explaining to him like, oh, this is symbolic of this, and like this person in his band believed like belonged to this group and believed in this belief, and so like that's what these things are referring to, like you like anyways. But then if I'm doing something where I have to edit my podcast and I'm listening to words, if I'm writing, if I'm reading, if there's something that requires an internal conversation with myself, then I cannot have other lyrics.
I fully agree, dude. I don't
So
understand
it's
people. Yeah.
contextual. It's contextual.
Okay.
Like I'll listen to like I throw on you saw my YouTube suggested thing. Like it's like all like lo-fi like hip hop, chill hop, whatever fucking things I can just throw on if I'm like having to edit another podcast or if I'm looking at clips or if I'm like reading or having to think about things. I can't have other words.
Okay.
But if I'm doing something and my body's busy, but my mind is kind of just like, la, 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 I would like to have a story being told or a message being told or a metaphor I can chew on, kind of thinking, oh, what did he mean by that? Like,
Right.
I think,
What about with lyrics? Or no, sorry, not lyrics, but when you're listening to the instruments in a song, do you like if you were to close your eyes and maybe you're stoned and you close your eyes and you're listening to a song,
hmm
with the sounds of the instruments, do you envision the instruments literally being played,
yeah.
or do the instruments being played make you visualize like a certain scenery in your head, almost like a movie in your head?
Um, I imagine the instrument being played.
Okay, yeah. See, so then the book would say that you're a very, again, like living
Yeah.
in physical reality
Yeah.
kind of guy.
Because I've always been obsessed with music. I'm not musically talented. I played trumpet as a kid a little bit, and I played guitar growing up. And I still fiddle around with guitar, but like I can read music, I can read tabs, I can, I'm fluent in it because I like it a lot, but I'm not that great at it. But I guess what I'm trying to say is because I played guitar, because I've tried to play the drums, because I've played the I tried to play the trumpet, I've tried to play these instruments. I know how the sound is created. I know even like it translates to everything though, because like it's not like I've ever played the harp. I've never played the lute. I've never played all these other brass instruments or wind instruments or string instruments or whatever, but I know that it's difficult for me to try and play Stairway to Heaven. It's difficult for me to do something. And so when I hear someone do it, I'm like, dude, I know how they're making that noise and I can't do that. And so there's something behind it where I'm like, yo, listen to the way he's doing this. Like there's like a little technique called, like, people that never play guitar would never know about it, but people that all play guitar would know about it, called harmonics. And it's like this like delicate dance of like touching the string on a fret, but like half touching it, and it makes like a way higher pitched version of like it's a different, and so it's like when you hear someone do it and they're subtly just sneaking it in, that like the pressure of their fingers is coming off in this, like, we're talking like fractions of an inch, like fractions of an inch of just like knowing sensory, of like knowing how
That's
to
the thing. It's the sensory thing. They're not like consciously like even thinking about. They're
yes.
feeling their way through it.
So
which is,
I hear that sometimes. I'll hear it in a song, and I'll be like, yo, go back a second. He just snuck that in. Like, there's this guitarist that I've always listened to. His name's Tommy Emmanuel, and he does what I'm talking about. There's a song called Angelina. I'll show it to you after. And it's like he's being cheeky with it. And like when you can hear it, you know it, and you're like, and it's not like, it's like the knowledge of knowing what you couldn't do.
yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean because I will frequently go down YouTube rabbit holes of drummers just drumming.
Yeah.
I love watching drummers drum, dude.
Yeah, dude, you hear a drum solo and you're like, I have no rhythm. Like,
Y-
if I
straight-
tried to do that, there's no way that I could sit down and it could sound good at a drum kit.
And the brain power, that it takes to have 8 different rhythms going on in your brain at the same time and be relaxed enough with your body in order to make it all happen is fucking. I just love that shit so much, dude.
Oh yeah, and you go to like the thing is, dude, and especially with drumming, if you go to different genres of music, rules don't apply from other genres. So like reggae beats, they'll have like I think it's like the 2 and the 4, whereas rock will be on the 1 and the 3.
Yep.
Like things like that, like little things where like the rules don't actually apply across the board. Like it's different in every genre. It's different. So like drummers from one style, when they can play a different style, you're like, yo, like how,
Dude's a black belt.
because you know that it's like, oh, this guy doesn't actually just like understand his thing really well. Like he's like, dude, Smashing Pumpkins. I'm a big 90s guy. I like grunge music, but Smashing Pumpkins, when you hear the singer, he's like a classically trained singer singing rock music.
Oh damn.
So there's like little subtleties, little like falsettos or like weird things that he'll do with his voice where like you're like, this sounds so weird. Like, I don't know if you know the band Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're like super weird sounding and super. But then you hear it contextually. Like he has a cover of Landslide by Fleetwood, and it's like so mint, dude. He's so fucking good. And like, dude, Post Malone is like the modern example.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Like he can, dude. There's
because he just understands music.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. I'm not a big fan of what's going on right now with him because I'm not a big fan of pop country.
Okay.
But
fair.
Seeing him in concert do covers of songs, I am a big fan of. I like that shit. Like,
have you heard a new guy? Speaking of country, sorry, this popped in my head. A young kid named
Dylan.
Baker Blankenship.
Oh no, I thought you were going to talk about Dylan something. Dylan something is red hot right now.
Baker Blankenship is the truth right now, dude.
Yeah. Baker Blankenship.
Yeah, I'll show you after. Anyways,
I'm in.
What I wanted to ask though is that speaking of grunge, because I know you like books as well. You ever read Dave Grohl's new autobiography?
No,
Dude, it's so good.
really.
It's so good.
Is there a point where he turns into a little bit of a cuck?
No, oh, you're
I
not a fan, huh?
no no no.
What?
Dude. The thing
How
is,
the fuck could you not be a fan of?
here's the thing. He is the goat. I will say that. I am being petty right now
Okay, so
because
what's the beef about?
like 3 years ago he said he would never play a concert again for people unless they've undergone a certain specific medical treatment that was being pushed a couple years ago.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah,
Dave.
yeah.
Dave.
It is what it is. A lot of our favorite rockers became lib cucks. It is what it is. Yeah, I know, but he's the goat, dude. He is the goat. I had a roommate that was the biggest Foo Fighters fan, and
Yeah.
he like I'd say forced, but he didn't have to convince
Hold
me
on.
too hard.
I gotta actually, because this is a really important topic, I suppose. So you saying that Dave Grohl is still the GOAT,
Yeah,
even though his thoughts on personal freedom may be different.
yeah.
That means that you are able to
Separate
like
the
an
art from the artist.
exactly.
Yeah,
So do you still like R. Kelly?
yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Dude, there's a yeah.
Like Coming Home by Diddy
Yeah.
is still one of the greatest songs of all time. I don't give a fuck.
anyone that can say, yeah, like they dude, I get the idea. There's certain people that you want to cancel and you want to be like, hey, they fuck them, they stood for this or they stood for that or they had this belief or they had that belief, whatever. Anyone, like, I used to be like that. I used to be unable to separate the art from the artist until I thought about Michael Jackson really clearly, and I was like, he was the first one that convinced me. It
That's fair.
Whether or not you believe any of the conspiracies or anything like that, like
Wait, so you believe that Michael Jackson was a diddler?
I don't know. I could be pushed either way. I think that
You do.
Michael Jackson specifically, because I've been looking into a lot more MK Ultra stuff and a lot of things like that. I think that there was a lot of shady shit involved. But I'm just using him as an example that, like, hearing Michael Jackson's music, you name the song, dude. There's so fucking many. You don't think about the kids.
Yeah.
It
of
doesn't
course.
become
Of course.
It doesn't even become when you hear the lyrics to Black and White, dude. You hear Thriller come on. You hear Billy, dude. There's endless songs you can name. You don't even think about the kids. It doesn't even fucking register, dude. Like, you're like, Macaulay Culkin said he'd never do this person. You don't think about any of it.
Right.
You hear the music, you're like, oh my goodness. And then once I got over that, I was like, oh, I guess I have the ability to overcome that.
Right.
So then there's a lot of people like Diddy, a little bit tougher. If Epstein came out with a book, I wouldn't be buying it right away. I wouldn't be. There's different things, but I'm just saying that I have the ability eventually to separate them. There's other, sometimes emotions are higher around different things.
That's fair.
But
That's
again,
fair.
when Mike Jackson comes on, you don't even think about it.
Right.
It doesn't even come into some people. I think like early 2000s, they were still talking about it because there was like the stories dangling the babies off the balcony, whatever. But again, I've looked into this a lot, so it's something that I've had to come to terms with. But I don't think most people even think about those kids or even think
fair.
about the idea. I think that when it comes on, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest. Dave Grohl is the exact same. He's like, you cannot hear My Hero. There's like this version that he does acoustically on fucking Howard fucking, what's his name?
Howard Stern.
Howard Stern. Who, again, same thing. Same fucking thing. He's a lib cuck now. He's like a fucking loser to listen to.
What?
Yeah, dude, he's such a
Well,
loser.
I never got into his radio show. Or
But
whatever.
his radio show is goated.
Yeah.
There's certain people that you just, I don't agree with everything he says, and I'd like to call him a retard, but he's goated. Like,
Okay.
he's at a level that it's just like goated.
It's true. It's true.
There comes a point where it's like they're undeniable.
Yeah.
They're undeniably good.
Would you say baseline is really important to you? Just going back to the music thing. I want to go through each of these kind of things that I know of and ask you about
Yeah.
preferences.
Yeah. I like a good
Because
rhythm
reggae,
section.
right? Reggae
Yeah.
is all baseline.
I like
basically.
a good rhythm section for sure. I personally never played any rhythmic instruments because I don't have any rhythm.
Yeah.
Like there's more of an onus on a bass player or a drummer or anything like that. Like in terms of executing on a on that level,
Right.
I could never be anything rhythmic.
Can you dance?
No, no. Comically, I can. Yeah, everyone can move.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You wouldn't if you wouldn't choose to watch me dance if you had a list of 100 people. To dance. You wouldn't.
Fair, man.
You'd probably rather watch anyone else.
Fair.
It'd be unentertaining. Not even like comedically, like it's like ironically like entertaining. Like it's so bad that it's funny.
Yeah.
It would just be like a baseline,
Okay.
a pretty fucking average.
Are you a Red Hot Chili Peppers guys?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
Again, same fucking thing. Lead singer Tony, what's his name? Is it Tony or
yeah, Anthony.
Anthony, yeah.
Kiedis. Anthony Kiedis.
Yeah, Tony Kiedis, Anthony Kiedis.
Yeah.
Same thing. He's got a lot of things I don't align with values wise,
Dude,
but
what
their
happened with all
music
these
is
guys and the
undeniable.
COVID shit, man? I didn't know this.
It wasn't just the COVID shit. There's like a lot of things. It's just like because the political world and the social world has flipped backwards. So the people that were against the old regime are now for the current regime.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Like
that's
how
what
the
happened.
conservative and liberal values have kind of flipped. You're talking.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like these are the people that were like fuck the system when the system was the opposite of what it is now.
Yeah.
And so now that
Fair.
we are fuck the system, we align with the stuff that they said 20, 30 years ago
Fair.
because it was fuck the system of that time, which is what we yearn for now.
Yeah.
So we resonate
Dude, when
with
you're-
their old message, but then it's like that fucking what's his name? The fucking author that wrote The Shining.
Stephen King.
You ever read his tweets?
No.
Don't.
I'm not on Twitter. Are you on Twitter?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I'm a consumer of Twitter. I don't post anything. I just go on Twitter to melt my brain.
Okay, so you have the same opinion about Twitter as the other cesspools of Instagram.
I just like Twitter because you can just see different things. I like watching a lot of like fights, and I like watching a lot of. I've been watching a lot of drone warfare recently, and it's really crazy, dude.
Damn.
Yeah.
Like they're having like drones are having dogfights in the air. You know
That would be cool to watch. No, I'm watching like drone strikes on humans.
That is okay. Yeah, I see
Yeah.
the doom scrolling thing you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, or like arm breaks. I watch a lot of skateboard vids and a lot of jiu-jitsu videos, and it obviously like it goes like the algorithm does what the algorithm does, dude. It makes the extreme version of whatever you like. So if you're watching things like jiu-jitsu and skateboarding, you're watching the biggest executions of what's humanly possible, and you're watching injuries.
Yeah, dude.
So that's all I get on my feed. Arm breaks, leg breaks, like
I enjoy watching that stuff too.
people falling off of buildings, like slams, people like trying to do like big gaps or like skateboarding. People try and do parkour that fall off buildings. I get a lot of fall off buildings. I get a lot of accidents, like car accidents. I get a lot of workplace injuries. I get a lot of that, like people cutting their fingers off, hands off, grinder wheels breaking. And then, like I said, recently I've been into, I've had a lot of, I was showing a buddy how extreme Twitter can get. So I was searching up like shootings and drone strikes. And so now I've been getting that on my feed.
Ooh.
And the drone strikes are something it's so addictive to watch because you're watching it and it is the most literal horror movie you could possibly think of, but it's like slightly like one step removed, only one step removed.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, I actually fully agree. Is that
It's the ultimate Tom and Jerry, like cat and mouse. Like it's so fucking scary, and you're fucking just watching it. You're like, dude, yeah, it's
I know
nuts.
exactly what you're
It's
saying, dude. I
nuts.
think I retired from that world. Although you shouldn't ever retire. Like you should. I feel like every once in a while dive back into the world so that again you're not living in your own la la land in your mind
Yeah,
of like everything's so
you should know
positive
how
and whatever.
fucked the world is.
100%.
Because people that are openly like nowadays, the people like people hear this and they're like, "Wow, that's really fucked up that he watches that."
Yeah.
But I can say completely confidently that I am the most anti-war I've ever been in my entire life
Yeah.
right now. The most anti-conflict, the most like because I watch that,
Fair.
it's I don't get me wrong, I'm not desensitized to it. I still get squeamish if I see someone's joints move in a weird way at jujitsu. I still like will get lightheaded. I pass out. Like I go into shock when I see
Yeah, I know.
people get
Like the one
injured.
time you got concussed.
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
you
yeah.
saw, yeah.
Yeah, I am so squeamish, dude. It's not desensitizing me
Yeah,
that
that's
way.
fair.
For me, it conditions me. Like it makes me so scared when dude, I hear stories. I know people that have family members in places that are in
Yep.
war right now,
Yep.
and I think about, dude, I don't know what I could even how I could go to work every day if I knew that my cousins,
Yeah.
my family members were in a place where this shit was happening. Like, what the fuck?
Amen, dude.
I cannot believe people fucking support war. Like, there's in the last couple of years, you name it,
Yeah.
I am not down to support any war. I'm not down.
No, I'm with you, man. I'm with
So
you 100%.
I'd say that that's one of the most
At the
beautiful
same
things of social media
For
because
sure. At the same time, though, I feel like the passive, like super, like I can't support any war approach is can lead to more war. I don't know. Obviously, with all this shit, man, the answer is not fucking clear cut at all. But I agree with you in that, in general, fucking war is the worst shit ever. Nobody should strive for it. But as a thought experiment, I wonder what would happen if most of us took that approach. Does that mean bullies just take over the world?
uh no, dude. Fuck no. No. What are you talking about? Dude, what? You could what are you talking about?
Like,
That
do
doesn't
you
make
not do you
sense.
not feel that war is sometimes necessary so that you just don't get cucked? In the same way, let's not even say war, like just fighting,
Right.
right? Like if you're like a kind of guy who's like, dude, I'm so fucking anti-fighting.
Mhm.
I'm just always gonna like, dude, if like someone like steps up to me at a bar or something, I'm just gonna say, hey, you know what, man? That was my fault. 100% my bad.
Mhm. You watch One Piece or no?
I watched a couple episodes.
Okay. Do you ever hear the story? Do you know the character Shanks?
No. Is that
Okay.
the bald guy? Is that the main guy?
No, it's the redheaded guy that gives Luffy his hat, the straw hat.
Oh, yes. Okay, I do know. Sorry, I thought you were talking about One Punch Man.
Anyways, there's this cool scene for people that are anime nerds. They'll fucking know about it. But basically, when Luffy's a little kid, uh, like the Shanks is this pirate who like frequents the island that Luffy's from, and they go to this bar, and Luffy consistently begs him like, "Let me be a pirate on your crew," like as he's like a little kid. And there's this one scene where these like barbarians or whatever come down from like the mountaintops. They're like these like fucking I don't know what you'd call them, but they're just like kind of hill thieves, like fucking like your average crossroad thief.
Yeah.
And they're like a gang, and they come in, and they're like, come into the bar, and they're like, give us your liquor, and like anyways, what happens is he's like, no, we drank every drop. Like the pirate crew's like, no, we drank every drop. There's nothing for you guys here. And they're like, oh, like we need a drink. We need some food. And then, like the leader, Shanks, he's like, I have one bottle left. Like I'll share it with you. He's being gracious with him. And then the guy comes and grabs the bottle and smashes it on his head. And everyone just like completely silent. And he just like looks at him and he starts like cleaning up the mess from the broken glass. And then like the guys all leave, all the barbarians, the thugs leave, and the whole pirate crew starts laughing at their captain. And then Luffy's like pissed. He's like, "Why didn't you
Because
react?"
that's his hero.
That's his hero. He just got disrespected in front of everybody. He's like, "Dude, that guy's a fly to me." Like he's like laughing about like the audacity. Like he's like, "Dude, if I wanted to, I could delete that guy. I could delete everyone that knows about him." You know, like that's the idea behind it. Is like, yeah, I don't need to react to this.
Okay,
This is
no, I get what you're saying there.
so I'm let
I'm
me
on the
get
same
this
page
straight.
as you then.
I'm not anti-military.
Yeah.
I'm anti-war that doesn't fucking involve us.
Okay, yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. So there.
In
Okay, yeah, for
self-defense,
sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
yeah,
Don't go entering an altercation that you have no. That's just not that
because
you're
you're
not
gonna,
involved with.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
not. It's got nothing to do
I
with you.
yeah, I should say I don't even think our government is interested in our best interests. And so you'd have a tough time convincing me that they're going to go to another country and make that better. They don't even make their own
I
place better.
fully agree.
And so there's 0% chance that you're going to convince me that, oh, we're going to go and liberate another country. There's people starving here.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, man.
Liberate?
Going back to Michael Jackson.
Liberate who?
Look at the man in the mirror.
Yeah, yeah.
Focus on that
Yeah,
fucking guy
yes,
first,
yes,
dude.
yes. Dude, thank you, dude. That's fucking clutch. Yes, dude. Yes. I don't fucking buy into any of that.
Yeah.
So like, what you go? Oh, these people that fucking literally poison us. Would they care about them?
Yeah, no, 100%.
And if that's
man.
the case, then we have a completely different discussion altogether.
Man, it's messed up out there, dude.
Yeah. So that's the way I look at it. I'm anti needless war. If someone comes
sure.
and like fucking like yeah, this is like a really like cold-hearted way to say it, and it's a metaphor. It's not like an exact specific thing, but it's like, dude, if you hear a fight going off in your neighbor's house, like it's almost to the degree of like, look, I've got conflicts. They might not be as immediate. They might not be as loud, but like I've got conflicts in my own home. So who am I to go over there and start trying to fix things when like I don't have a perfect fucking household?
Yeah.
So like if anything, for me to go and give my time, energy, resources, focus, and attention to problems in another household is disrespectful to my own home. It's a disrespect. Like if you're growing up,
And it's also just ineffective because you haven't gotten your own shit to the you haven't fully
Yeah.
gotten your own shit together. So you trying to help someone else, it's just gonna end up being ineffective.
yeah. Like if you're growing up and your dad, like if you're hungry and you're like, hey, we don't have much in the fridge, we don't have much in the cabinet, and mom's like, yeah, we just gotta wait till dad gets home, and then we're gonna and your dad is going out and helping his fucking neighbor get food in his fridge. Eventually, you'd come to the point where you'd be like, hey, does my dad love me? Does my dad care about me? Do you like someone else more than you like me? Like, you seem to be giving them a lot more attention. And that's kind of the way I think about our government.
Damn, dude, that's a really good metaphor.
Because it's like
really good metaphor.
like the only reason, like you know, it's like, you know, you're supposed to be looking out for me.
Yeah.
Like I mow your lawn, I do your dishes, I wash your truck, I do all the things that I'm supposed to do. I do my chores, I give you my tax, but yet for some reason you're not taking your end of the bargain. Why are we hungry here? Like, it's great that we're feeding mouths in other countries, but like, have you taken a trip to Surrey? Have you taken a trip to the downtown east side? It's like that looks like a third world country. Why don't we send a fucking bunch of military down there to fucking clean up those streets and liberate those fucking people? Yeah. What does the liberation look like?
Yeah.
That's a good question, right?
It is a damn good question, man.
Yeah, so anything that has to do with
Interesting.
the government, I'm instantly like, no, you'd have to first convince me that anything to do with the government is somehow in our best interests.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty hard thing to convince anybody of.
Yeah, for sure, dude. For sure. Yeah, I feel like even pro-government people don't believe that.
I think the greatest argument you could make is that they're trying their best. But like at some point, if somebody's trying their best and still failing, at some point someone's got to be like, all right, we can't let this toddler drive us off a cliff. Like, someone has to be like, it's sensitive, it's nice, they stopped crying because we let them drive, But like eventually you have to kind of be like, you're gonna have to deal with the temper tantrum and throw them in the back seat.
Yeah.
It's gonna be annoying. It's gonna be loud. It's gonna be fucking obnoxious. They're gonna throw things. They're gonna scream. But it's like you have to do the uncomfortable and be like, we have to let someone that's of age with a driver's license that has cognitive ability drive the fucking vehicle. We got to get there safely. We got to hit a drive-through when everyone's hungry. We can't neglect the fucking hungry. We got to fucking just, if there's a baby screaming in the back seat, we let them fucking, play a game, watch a fucking video, whatever we need to do. They don't get to drive. They don't
Dude,
get to
that's
make
such a
serious
good metaphor.
decisions.
Yeah, dude.
We're just all on the same bus, and it's unpleasant. Some people are hungry. Some people are desperate. And it's like a weird thing where we're all like arguing over who should be driving, kind of like that I was just saying. But like we're not arguing about like, hey, there's a hungry guy over here who's like literally decaying in his clothes. Like, I thought we were communists and socialists. Don't we care about that? Do we not give a fuck about that? Your policies sound great. There's more people hungry. Do we care about that?
Yeah.
We allow them to sleep in tents. That's great. They're dying in tents now. Do we care about that? We give them a whole hotel downtown. They're dying in the hotel. Do we care about that? Like, at what point do you be like, okay, this doesn't sound sensitive anymore? Like, we've made it the most comfortable death. Like, that's great, but like, do we want to stop the suffering and death yet?
Yeah.
Or do we just want to look good by giving them more things? Like, that's the part where I'm like, all right, think about your fundamental beliefs about like people become communists and socialists because apparently they care about people,
Mhm.
but then you like see the real world version of it and you're like, hey, someone's dying. Do we actually care about this, or do we just talk about caring about this?
And again,
Because it's not working.
yeah, it goes back to like when you can get your own shit together to the utmost, then you can really, really fucking support the community, man.
Oh yeah.
Microcosmic and fucking macro perspective, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot of times in like, dude, I'm very privileged. I'm very blessed that I fell into a family business that I have some like interest in. Of course, it's not my biggest passion in the world, but I'm inclined to it. Like I said, I'd rather deal with problems than with things than people. Like, there's a lot of things that just happen by chance. I hit the lottery kind of.
Mhm.
But there is a lot of times, and where I'm sitting there thinking like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, I have to do more paperwork than all my friends. I have to do this. I have to, there's more hours of fucking answering tips on social media regarding carpentry or doing this. So, like, there's a lot of, I could be simple. I could just go get a job with benefits and fucking retirement savings plans and all these different things. Why am I not doing that? And then there's little tiny rewards and payoffs that, like if your friend's business is slow, you can give them some work.
Mhm.
Like little things like that where you're like, oh, this is actually benefiting the community now.
Mhm.
Like, I'm actually making, not just like there's the surface level. Yeah, you improve someone's home. You build something, you make something beautiful. There's the pat on the back. There's the integral good feeling. But then there's like the secondary level of it where it's like, oh, we're actually facilitating like more than one family getting money, getting food, getting all these things.
Because you can stand on your own.
Yeah, and that's one example of it.
Mhm.
That's one example. But that's why I think that being like a business owner, being like some sort of a hub where other people can come and like like feed off it and then like grow their own, it's like one of the most noble things. It's one of the most, and it's one of those things where it's yeah, you get stuck in this like, why the fuck am I doing this? And then you're like, oh, that's why I'm doing it. Like, it's a real yeah, when you can benefit the community that way. I think that's where you're kind of getting at, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. With that being said, though, there has to be a place because this is just how humans work. Like, there has to be a certain amount of people that are working for someone else and who are just kind of following the leader. It's just the way it is, man.
Hmm.
So,
Um, I was gonna ask you before we, because on the idea of like on the idea of like addiction and going towards pain relief, going towards fixing problems, there's always like kind of like this contextual. Again, there's no like right or wrong answer. It is a gray area. But I was having this conversation with my buddy the other day, and I think you probably have good input on this because I know you're kind of overcoming something similar. But we were talking about there's two types of people in fitness, and my buddy is one of them where he's like, hey, I'm I can't wait to get back into gaining a bunch of muscle. I can't wait to get back into it. Like the only thing that's holding me back, like he's stuck doing like physio for his shoulder,
mhm,
and he got a reconstructive surgery, and he's doing all his physio stuff, and he has like his timeline mapped out. And then, so like, there's that type of person who's very diligent and very, but I'm the opposite. I feel like I know in some ways there's some injuries that I've taken a lot more seriously than others. But like my shoulder, for example, it's the same shoulder for both of us,
mhm,
and I have obviously foregone so far. I'm not completely closed off to it, but I've delayed even thinking about getting surgery because I'm like, I can do 99% of what I want to do.
mhm.
There's certain things that I can't do, and I know that I'm compromised in that area. So I just kind of have come to terms with like, I'm not doing certain things. But that being said, I strengthen the shit out of like, at work, I lift things over my head all the time. I climb ladders carrying deck boards. Like there's so you kind of like, your injury well enough almost
Mhm.
that you can
Yep.
just kind of work around it. Like
Yep.
I joke with them. I'm like, I kind of just know my shoulder's fucked in certain positions, and I just don't go in those positions.
Mhm.
So like, where do you kind of fall? Because obviously there's gray areas. There's like, where's your kind of?
So
I know where I
the root
land.
the root question is the root question
What are
is
you doing with your leg, your knee? Is it's your knee that's causing you the
both
most?
knees, both
Yeah,
knees.
yeah. What do you do with your knees? Are you more like I need to fix this before
I
I can
have to
do
fix it.
anything?
I can't stand for 5 minutes without like it creeping up to like a 6, 7, 8 out of 10 pain. Just
Really?
standing, just the
Fuck.
compression from standing.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you
s-
do you stand stiff legged?
I have to just change position, like micro changes in my
Yeah,
position all the
like
time, just to change the loading
yeah,
of where
yeah.
the compression is. But I think you can leave injuries. Number one, if you truly feel, and you're honest with yourself, and you truly feel that you can still perform at your highest expression to support yourself and the community, and to live your best life. Like you just said, you can still do 99% of the things. You can still do 99% of the things, and you have zero issues with doing your work, which supports the community. Therefore, why would you? I mean, you can if you want, but it's yeah, I totally understand your perspective of like, dude, I don't have to fix my shoulder if ever. You could
Y-
do 99% of the things.
Yeah, I think my biggest fear is like I know myself where I'm like if I can't like if I were to get surgery, I know obviously like when I fractured my heel, I was still in the gym. I was just riding bikes. I was doing everything low impact.
Hmm.
Like I was just like sitting on fucking machines doing hamstring curls.
Okay.
Like I'm like I need to find a way to exercise, but I just feel like if I couldn't move my shoulder, like I've seen the fucking things that people have to
Yep.
go in when they get that
Yep.
fucking shit.
So okay, so I know what you're getting
I
at.
don't
So
want to regress.
yep,
I
yep,
know that like
exactly.
for most of my goals I can progress still.
Yep. Okay, perfect. So that's the other part of the question you have to consider, which is when you're thinking of should I make a real run at fixing this musculoskeletal issue or injury that I have, um, how many compensations do I have left? Because the way it's going to work for any injury is that you have, and if you're a good athlete, and you're strong and you're fit, you are going to have hundreds, if not thousands, of compensations, ways to work around the injury. But what happens with chronically injured people and or like geriatric population is a really good example is that you start funneling down from having 100 compensations to 50 to 30 to 20 to 10, and then before you know it, you only have one compensation left. And that's akin to what you're saying, where it's like the guy whose like shoulder is just has frozen shoulder and his shoulder is just stuck in this position. He's ran out of compensations. So if you feel like you can still, if you still have a lot of compensations, and with your training and your sports and everything else that you do, you're still opening up more compensations, you're still opening up more movement options, then you're good. But it's when you start funneling down to losing movement options, losing degrees of freedom, losing compensations, then you you should definitely make a push or make a run to fix that issue.
Yeah. I feel like it depends also like with the injury. Yeah, like you said, knees. It's kind of
It's rough.
yeah, it's a lot
It's
more important to
fucking
have
rough.
fucking solid knees. And knees are something like I feel like I don't even really know specifically about your injury, like what's going on. Maybe you could just like, is it like meniscus stuff or is
I've
it?
talked to many physios and friends who are physios and RMTs and stuff. I'm concerned. I'm waiting on an MRI, so I don't want to catastrophize, but I've known that I've had osteoarthritis symptoms for a long time. If you knew me when I was a teenager, you would be fucking appalled at the amount of volumes of training for both sports and lifting and running and everything that I did. And so when I was like 20 years old, I remember working retail and like standing for 15 minutes. Again, the compression would just be, I would be popping 8 Tylenols and Advils a day just to manage my
Wow.
knee pain. But I remember clearly, like when I was around the age of 20, I smartened up with my training, and I basically managed those osteoarthritis, which, if you don't know, osteoarthritis is just when you wear down the cartilage
Hmm.
between your femur and tibia, so that it's close to
Isn't
bone
that
on
your
bone.
meniscus? The
Well,
cartilage there?
so there's meniscus between it, but there's the articular cartilage on the head of your, on like the end of your femur, and the top part
Femur's
of
the top one,
the
right?
top one,
Okay,
and
okay,
then the
okay, okay.
top part of your shin, essentially.
Yeah.
So it's like essentially you can say it's wearing down of the cushion, which is the meniscus, as well as the wearing down of the actual gliding surfaces of your bones.
Not
So
much you can do about that.
not much you can do about it, and that's the fucking scary thing. So I'm just trying my best at this
Yeah.
point, dude.
But I feel like actually no, because there is couldn't you get? Don't they do the two surgeries, or is that just the meniscus surgery where they can do either a silicone, like a rubber one, or they can extract it from a
That's meniscus.
cadaver,
Yeah, you can do meniscus transplant. Yeah,
but the cartilage itself?
the cartilage itself is, yeah. There's not much you can do. There's anecdotal evidence that you can shoot stem cells in there, but from what people that I've known that have done that and have wasted tons of money on it, as well as just anecdotal things you read online, because unfortunately there's not many RCTs on stem cell injections for knees right now. It is the technology is just not quite there yet. So going down the stem cell route, in my opinion, is a bit of a waste of time and money. You're
H-
really rolling the dice there.
How much of that is like because I've like not that I could afford too much of it, but I've looked into those things because they interest me, and obviously like there's the whole idea as well with like stem cells in North America, obviously only being like, yeah, you can really only get the quality ones in Mexico, like everything's so regulated here. But
Yeah,
how much of that do you think is the guys that have the money to actually go and get the good quality like stem cells, like all these different places that you hear about from celebrities? How much of it do you think is like when you hear about it not working,
I think when you hear
related
about
to
it, not,
people that are sorry, I just want to finish
it's all
that.
good.
How much of that do you think is related to people that just like keep training and they have like inflammation in other areas? And because like I've heard that the stem cells, like say you want them, like if I wanted them to fix my shoulder and then like I get stem cells injected, uh like it's not like it gets fixed that day. It's like the next month or so.
Yeah,
And so like if
yeah,
I'm going out running every single day,
yeah,
my knees are getting wear and
yeah,
tear, my ankles are getting wear and
yeah.
tear, my hips are getting wear and tear. From my understanding, like the stem cells would then go and repair every part of inflammation. So like if you're going to continue training, if you're the type of person that's going to get stem cells, you'll probably continue doing something. And like how much of that is related when people are like, "Oh, I tried to get stem cell injections in my neck and it didn't fix anything." It's like, well, you kept running, you kept doing other things, and so obviously you got repair done in your knees and your back and everywhere else that was getting stress
Mm.
and inflammation.
I think it is. it's definitely a multifactorial thing. So like one of the factors that could make or break your recovery is whether you're rehabbing it properly. Are you actually managing your load correctly? Not doing too much, not doing too little, not pushing it too early. But there are other factors to consider too, like what kind of stem cells are they injecting? Because there's like a gradient from like omnipotent, pluripotent, like basically like certain stem cells can transform into any other cell of the body, whereas others are a little bit more limited in how the potential for them to become any cell of the body. So there's the type of stem cell. A really, really big factor is a lot of these like South American or like Mexican clinics will just shoot it intra-articularly. So like they'll just shoot it into the joint without guiding it with MRI or ultrasound or just without guidance. And so that's going to really decrease the efficacy of it if you're not guiding by ultrasound. And so that's like an expensive
Where does
thing.
it have to be injected? Sorry,
Into the area where cartilage or ligament.
intermuscular or like
Intra-articular. So intra-articular just means like
into the artery?
inside articular. So
Art-
inside the joint where because the joint articulates.
Articulates. Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. Okay,
So
I understand.
intra-articular.
Sorry, that's my etymology. I'm like trying to figure out the word you're saying.
Yeah.
But okay, so
So there's a lot of factors that go into the whole stem cell, whether it's going to work or not.
yeah, I guess it depends too. Like, would they? I'm so dumb, dude. So would they put the same stem cells, say, for if you're trying to fix a joint?
Yeah.
Would you put the same stem cells that you put in a joint to fix like an organ when they try and grow organs for people and shit? Because have you heard about that where they take like organs from people and they add stem cells to it and they can regrow certain parts of organs or they can regrow organs?
I
Or,
have heard that. I have
so
heard
like,
that.
would you use the same thing, say, for like a if you're like to grow an organ like a heart or a lung or something like that, it's like a muscle, like would you inject the same type of stem cells into them as you would
That I cannot
into a
answer
joint?
confidently. That I have no idea. I'm not well researched enough into the world of stem cells. And plus not only like even if you were well researched enough, at the moment there's like really
It's
only
all
like it's all
speculative.
speculative and it's all clinical evidence. So it's like the expert would be the provider of the stem cells or the clinic that does the treatments. But then you come into the whole issue of like, okay, there's still a business
Mm-hmm.
and they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
obviously really fucking boost up the positive things that happened and
Mm-hmm.
try to downplay the
Yeah. Someone's making money off it, so they're gonna advertise it.
yeah. So yeah, the whole stem cells thing is it's
So I know that you said you have like a limited amount of time. We're at 2:53. You said what time you have to leave? 3:10.
310. We got time. A little
Okay,
bit.
okay. How many? Because I wanted to talk as well about some of the other cool things you're interested in. But before, I guess a cool question for you is, I know there's the biology textbook answer of how you've been working on your knee,
Yeah.
but I know that you're also like me. Not always like a literal black and white type of guy. You
Yeah.
like to experiment. You like to think about things.
Mhm.
Have you done anything woo woo to fix your knee?
Uh, no, I've done the traditional load management and trying to, just like we're talking about with chronic injury, increase my movement options, like my ability to wiggle and make micro adjustments out of the pain, uh, which certainly helps to a degree. But I have also started pinning BPC 157.
Okay,
Yeah, man.
dude, you're good. Okay, nice.
And
I
TB
had someone
500.
ask me about that this week,
Yeah.
and I don't know that much about it. I know probably 3 or 4 people that use it, and they've told me about it.
Yeah.
And so you said you're open to it, or you've been doing it.
I've been doing it as of this 3 days ago, Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about that? Is
So,
that I don't know much about it. It's a
uh,
peptide.
it is a peptide that has been shown. Mediocrely, there's one human trial on it, or just human study on it that's kind of mediocre
Okay.
out of Florida, where it's like 16 out of 17 patients got a lot of knee pain relief and improvement in function after, I believe it was intra-articular injection of BPC 157. So in terms of the evidence, it seems to be quite effective. But again, there's one study, but there's tons of rat studies that show that it could decrease inflammation, promote uh, promote wound healing, promote tissue healing, help regrow ligaments and tendons and bone. And so,
So when you're doing it, sorry, I earlier you talked about stem cells being injected interarticularly, and you need to have like a fucking X-ray, whatever fucking monitor. I don't know what you said.
so this is yeah.
Ultrasound.
Okay, I know what you're getting at.
Okay,
I am
so
not injecting intra-articularly
okay,
because that would be dangerous as fuck unless you're a medical professional with
right,
all of the equipment, ultrasounds, MRI,
right,
whatever. So I'm injecting it subcutaneously, which means just under
into
the
fat,
skin, into the fat,
into
basically.
fat.
So it goes systemically.
Hmm.
So obviously there is a lot, or actually there's zero scientific evidence on that, but there is a mountain load.
That's the same as everybody that I know that I've spoken with about this type of thing. Because I trust me, I looked into it because of my shoulder.
Hmm.
I had a couple people at jujitsu that were like, "Yo, you should look into this." And then I knew a couple guys from like back in the bodybuilding days that use it on some of their joints.
But you're not 100% sure what's wrong with your shoulder, or you know it's labrum.
I I've no, I don't know 100%. I've had a guy that I roll with who's a doctor
Okay.
who has made this suggestion that it's most likely a torn labrum,
Okay.
and he said that I
Okay.
should get a CT or a scan done, and I just haven't done it, or MRI,
Yeah.
and I just haven't done it. I doesn't. I know exactly the position that it will come out,
Yep.
and I don't let my shoulder get in that position. I'll
There you go.
tap or I'll fucking move my body in a way that it doesn't
There you go.
happen.
Because I'm actually like, now that we're having this conversation, I will say I am not advocating necessarily for anybody to try injecting peptides, especially if you live in Canada. Because you gotta like, dude, in all transparency, you gotta buy the shit as like research chemicals from the states. You know what I mean? And you
Hmm.
don't know where the source of that is.
Hmm.
The best you can go, which is what or the best you could do, which is what I did, is go word of mouth of like different jujitsu gyms that people have been using the peptides. Hey, like,
Yeah.
do you know anyone who's been using this stuff for like a few months or like a couple of years, like, and they
Yeah.
haven't had adverse effects? Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
can I talk to those guys? And then you talk to those guys. Okay, where'd you get your stuff from? Like, you
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, but that's still sketch.
And that's why I was asking about the application as well with the slim pins, probably, right? Like
Uh,
the insulin,
Insulin, yeah, yeah,
insulin
yeah,
pin.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's how you can tell I've been talking to bodybuilders. But yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is one of the guys that I knew that was using it. I mean, I was like, is he wrong or what? Because the way that he explained it was he uses an insulin pin and he just basically like takes a fold of his knee, like pinches a skin fold and just like straight into that.
Hmm.
But then is that the same thing as like stem cells? Like if you're training other parts of your body, is that not just gonna just like dissipate and go and fix other inflamed
Yeah,
areas?
absolutely. So there's actually, and here's the thing as well, because I have also been injecting local to the injury, so like around my knees,
Mm-hmm.
but like science, biology, textbook wise, when you inject something subcutaneously, not intramuscularly, not intraarticularly, like you just inject it into your fat, it's just going to go through your entire bloodstream,
Mm-hmm.
and then that substance will go to where it needs to go to fix things. With that said, though, a subcutaneous injection is a subcutaneous injection. So whether you put it into your belly fat or whether you put it around your knee into like your knee fat, um, it doesn't really matter. And anecdotally, with a lot of jujitsu people and lifters and stuff, they claim that pinning it close to the location of injury has helped them a lot more. So it's like, fuck it, that's what I've been doing too. It's probably placebo, but I mean, all of this stuff is a
Placebo.
weird science experiment.
Yeah, yeah, and they say like placebo works better than any
Yeah,
medical
so
grade.
there you go.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, man. I've always, I always look forward to our conversations. We didn't touch on it today because, but because we didn't. But like to think about these alternative methods and these alternative, because we talk about like psychedelics. I know it's something that you're super interested in.
Yeah.
I'm interested in it. I've had people on my podcast that have taken like ketamine therapy, like different plant medicines, different things like that. Personally, like I think that those things are, um, life changing for me. It,
Yeah.
like I said, it helped me find my faith, my spirituality. It's a weird, obscure thing that a lot of people like look weirdly on it, but then the people that had that experience, it's like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like it's so life-changing. And I was I'm it's easy for me to dismiss a lot of things, and then when I overcome that about something I've dismissed, it makes me feel ignorant. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. For
So
sure.
like I was curious to see if you've looked into any of like any alternative methods of healing your knee or healing anything like that, but it's
I have looked at, and we can maybe talk about this next time, but there's a ton of trial drugs or trial procedures coming out of like Korea
hmm.
where they will actually, and this is like where it's like where stem cells, like Mexican stem cells meets like actual science, because there's procedures now where it's like they're like phase 3 trials where it's like the outcomes are looking pretty good, where they'll literally take the end of your femur, like where the, like if you can imagine like your thigh bone and you always see those two little bulbs that your shin attaches to, they'll literally drill holes into it and then fill it and then fill that with like a stem cell paste. So it's like the way more targeted, way more specific version of like some Mexican dude, just like
So it's in the bone.
it's in the bone.
I think I've heard of that actually.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I've
So
heard of
there's
that.
a lot of like interesting, cool advancements coming our way, but I wish we were a little bit further along because fucking poor timing with my knees right now. But it's still cool to learn about.
Yeah, yeah. How much of it do you think that our meat suits are going to be necessary by the time that we're old?
I The human body is so complex. Like it is such like a complex system of systems, and the systems just are like 1,000 tiers deep and all interact with one another. And one thing that happens in one system will influence another system, and vice versa, all over the place. And there are autonomic processes going on all the time that are like perfectly fine tuned so that you don't die, and like for example like your body temperature doesn't go too high or too low. These things are like perfectly tempered and perfectly adjusted. There's like an innate wisdom to the human body, and the human body is so fucking complex that I am not sure if AI will be able to outsmart that. So to answer your question, I think the meat suit will always have to be respected even when we're 90 and there's like perfect like VR goggles that can transport you.
Yeah, yeah. I tend to agree with you, man. I always I think about philosophically a lot about that type of thing, and I think about like, will technology become something that's like glasses? Like, you know how like glasses, we take eyeglasses, we put them on our body. It helps us, it aids us medically, like to see something that we can't see, right? That's something that we can like take on and take off. Same thing with like a cell phone. Like it's something that you can put on your body, you can have on your person, or you can leave it in your bedside table and live in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've always kind of thought about, even with like in regards to injuries, I see it more of being like I could buy a future where we have an exoskeleton that aids our body in doing things
Mm-hmm.
before I see successfully putting our consciousness into something.
Fully agreed. Fully
Because I
agreed.
think that, dude, there's
To add to that, like before we started recording, you were talking about how just life is so amazing because you have five senses. Dude, there's so many. Like talking about VR, there's way more than five senses.
yeah.
It's not just taste,
Oh, I know.
touch, smell, whatever. Interoception, proprioception. Just there's so many senses. How are you going to account for all of that and perfect it
Yeah.
into a VR goggle or
Dude, I
whatever?
think there's even more. I think that my brain is fucking weird and creepy, but I think even more. Like, I think that there's more senses than we are aware of, and I think that we're even like through like the disconnection of our bodies that we're all inundated with.
Yeah,
I think that we've like lost senses that
fully agreed.
are awakenable. Like for example, like you hear like you know how sharks can like sense electromagnetic
Yeah,
like
yep.
they can sense it the same way that we can hear sounds. The way that it's hard for us to conceptualize because we don't have that sense.
Mm-hmm.
But like, dude, there's times where I'm sitting here and I look at my cat and she like looks in the corner and then looks back at me and then she'll like, I'm like, is she seeing something or like sensing something that's like, and I'm like, I don't fucking really believe in a lot of things like that. But like, there's times where I've just looked at like my cat or my dog, and I'm like, is this motherfucker smarter or dumber than me? Because I can't tell right now.
Yeah. No,
And
that's a good point.
and it's like it's fucking weird. Like it's like I think that just in regards to that like whole five senses thing, I think we have way more senses. Like I think that there's so many like gut feelings that we relate to other things. Like you like sometimes you can tell when you're being watched. Like those types of things where you're like super relativity. Like that's like like there's molecules that behave differently when being observed, when they're not being observed. And I think that we are kind of like that as well. And I think that there's this like weird thing, like we've been in, like there's a sense that's input in us. It's like, when you're being watched.
Yeah.
Because of super relativity, because molecules behave differently.
But we're continuing to lose it.
Yeah.
Because we don't live in physical reality.
Right. Yeah. So I guess in respect of your time, thank you very much for coming here today,
Thanks,
sir.
Man. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you for coming on this little trip. The weather got better while we were here, so
I know, I noticed that.
I like that, man. Thank you very much. Much love. Peace out, everybody. See you guys later.
Adios.
Bye.